Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Raw Knuckles podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe. What was it like, I guess, in the middle of a fight, or you're in that fight and you're going, can you kind of explain that emotion? What was that emotion for you in a fight? Like,
don't fucking get hit. Don't let it hit. I was actually pretty calm and I actually loved the moment.
When I stepped on the ice, I never backed down and I never stayed down.
And I was vicious and I was malicious and I don't care.
I'm alive. He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town.
Yeah, PJ, welcome to the Raw Knuckles podcast, buddy. Awesome that you took the time to join me. And I just want to address one thing with you first. You weren't fucking late for spitting chiclets, but you were late for me.
I was not late for you. I was not late for you.
I'm on a
call. Trying to get all this. I work. I didn't have I'm in my basement. I have a job. I don't live the lavish lifestyle. I'm working for the Canadians and living the life. Lavish. By the way, our Canadians, how are we doing right now? Because how often do you have to go to the games?
When they call, I don't go often. When I have something, they call me. But I'd actually like to do more. Put it that way.
Yeah,
I could do more.
Could you play on the power play? Because they could use you.
Yeah, really. And we have a lot in common. And with Stars One, Irish heritage.
Yes.
We both weren't afraid to drop the mitts. We both played for the Bruins, the Canadians, and the Rangers. I didn't play for Philly, but so those things in common for sure.
And we're both good looking.
You're both good looking. We're not the biggest guys.
No.
I know you come in on Google at 5'10".
I'm 5'10". Knux, I'm 5'10".
5'10". Okay.
I'm 5'10" and 1/8. So in sports world talk, 5'10" and 1/8 is like 5'10" and a half. 5'10" and a half is like 5'11". So if you're 5'11", you're 6 foot.
Yeah.
That's how it kind of works in today's sports right now.
Well, I'm 5'11" and a half, just under 6 feet, and 200 pounds of white dynamite. Well, actually 225. And you weighed in at 190 playing, 190 pounds of white dynamite. Yeah. No question about it. I want to go back and you grew up in Montreal. Were you a Habs fan growing up?
You know what? My dad loved hockey. So growing up, we only had Wednesday night hockey and you had Saturday night hockey. That was the only nights we could watch. And we watched RawKnux, and we only were, I don't want to say you're force-fed the Canadians pretty much, because that's all. Like growing up, I watched the Montreal Canadiens play hockey on Wednesdays and Saturday nights. I watched Notre Dame. My dad was a huge sports fan. Notre Dame football on Saturdays during the day. And growing up in Montreal, we only were pretty much given the New York Giants games on Sundays. So that was kind of my sports world. And my dad, whenever there was a big boxing match. So that was kind of the world when we had one TV, right? So whatever dad wanted to watch, we watched. So a lot of hockey. I was a hockey fan. I was a big fan of Chris Chelios back in the day. Matt Snaslin, obviously number 30. It was fun. It was like a thing to do where we'd all get together and watch whatever sporting event. But it was.
But you weren't a Habs fan.
I wasn't a Habs fan. No,
wow, that's.
Yeah, I think it's funny. My brother would go get all the autographs. My brother and I was never really. I'm not a fan. This is going to sound funny. I'm not a fan of much. I like things. I'm not overly crazy passionate about I'm not that fan word. I'm not a fanatic of a lot of things.
See, when I grew up in Boston, I was a Bruins fan like crazy. Right. Now, I like the Celtics. I like the Red Sox, Patriots, because of, provincial, being from Boston. But even today, yes, I'm a Habs fan. If the Habs are out, and the Bruins are in the playoffs, I like to see the Bruins do well. If the Rangers, because I played for those teams, definitely. But first and foremost, it's the Habs. And growing up down there and being a Bruins fan, it surprises me because here in Montreal, people are either Habs fans or they hate them,
or they hate the Habs,
and they're Bruins fans.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes back. I always think it goes back, especially like Kanawaki, Stan Jonathan attracted a lot of fans from there. They love the rough and tumble hockey. And then in the East End, right, Phil Esposito, a lot of the Italians back in the day when they're only right.
Yeah, all the Italians love the Bruins.
So they have that big base. Anyway, so Peach, growing up here.
But hold on, to defend you, I was a fan of players, not necessarily a team. So my buddies growing up, I guess because you were in that situation, you were in that environment where your friends were Bruins fans. The environment that I was in, I had friends that liked other teams. So I wasn't, I don't want to say force fed. I watched it as a fan of hockey, but there was Gretzky was playing, right? So Gretzky kept coming out with that silver stick, the Easton whatever. So my Gino, of course,
and you have one.
I don't have one, but I actually have them. Where's my picture of Gretz? My Gretz is over here. And my pictures are crooked behind me. Now you're throwing me all off by looking at. I have to use my head like this. I was in an environment where my friends liked other teams. So G liked LA because of Gretz. I had buddies that liked the Bruins, funny enough. So I was a fan of not necessarily the Canadians.
So you're a fan of hockey. As a kid growing up, did you have that desire to one day want to play in the NHL? Like a lot of kids grow up playing hockey. I want to play in the NHL one day. Did you have that?
I didn't. I just wanted to be. I never even thought there was a world of it. I wanted to just play sports. I love soccer. Like I love soccer. I played lots of soccer. Back then, we could play hockey in the summers. Sorry, hockey in the winters, soccer's in the summers. I did every other sport known to man. My parents had me in with my ADD, ADHD, whatever you want to call it, in a sport all day long. So, I mean, in high school, I finished class at 2:30. Play a school sport, whatever it was. I wrestled, soccer, rugby, volleyball, and then I'd come home, eat, and then I'd go to a hockey practice. So that was kind of, or in the winter, you even have some indoor soccer practices. I loved all sports. I wasn't ever thinking that one of them would lead me to the top level. I was the smallest kid, Knux. I was the smallest kid, and I was shit at everything. So I loved doing it, but I just was shit at everything. So I was.
Well, you couldn't have been shit at everything. You could have been okay at everything. You maybe weren't a superstar, but
I was competitive. I was. Yeah. I was very energetic. I just didn't really excel in anything with skill set. Soccer, I love soccer. Some people said that I was a good soccer player. I was good because I can run. That's about it. It's the skill sets of soccer. I just kick the ball and chase after it, but I didn't the soft hands in hockey, the nice touch in soccer, a nice dig or a nice set in volleyball, or I wasn't good at any of those things. I tried and wanted to do well at them. I just didn't have the savoir-faire.
So savoir-faire, Yvon Lambert. So growing up, sister and your brother Dino, and where does the toughness come from? Does it come from mom and dad? Does it come from growing up with Dino and fighting with him? Or did you like fight in the neighborhood growing up as a kid? Or
no.
Where does the toughness come from?
I think all the sports, I think the one thing that is lost a little bit in sports today, I hated to lose. Like I hated to lose at anything. I still hate to lose.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Today they've taken the hate out of losing. Like everyone, I got 4 kids. I have more stupid ribbons in this house and little medals for my kids finishing 6th And they're like, "Hey, I came home with I'm like, I don't care. Why didn't you win? Why didn't you had one job? I'm paying for you. Better kick some ass or don't come home." And they came home, finished 6th, and they're okay. Here's your burger, and here's my medal or my badge. My kids are great. I'm only joking, but I miss I lost. I don't ever want to lose again, so I have to make myself better. I have to, again, all the sports that I mentioned, I loved. I love. I worked on all of them. I went to practice. Practice was 50 minutes. But then practice was done. I'd still practice. Like, I wanted to get better. I wanted to be the best on the field. I wanted to be the best on the ice, Knux. I wanted to be the best at everything. And I think people think they're so good today because they're rewarded all the time that they don't know really that grind and that push that you need. So I loved everything. Was I good at much? No, but I just didn't like ever losing.
It's refreshing to hear you say that you wanted to be the best, because I had Ty Domi on here and he told me he was the best at everything. It was funny. It was funny.
I know. That Ty.
In high school. So you played junior, you played the Lumber Kings.
Well, it's a good question that you ask. Because you and I played physical roles in hockey. Yeah. And people are hearing us talk, and we're both chill and fun. Everyone that knows Chris and nowadays and the Canadians, you see him at the rink. Knux is giving out hugs, high fives, kissing babies, everything. But there was a time where we punched people in the head. Yeah. And it's not as if you're born with that. So, you asked me the question, but you played in an era where men were men. Mm. Was it a switch for you, or is it something that, I think of it happened in sports. All those sports that I played, my competitiveness went to a different level. So it finally happened in a game where it happens, and then it goes okay, and then it happens again. I don't know how it started with you, which is a great question.
Well, for me, it started. Listen, I believe it's a learned behavior to for the most part. Was I born with it? I don't. Is some of it hereditary? I look at my father's a tough bastard, and he was a Green Beret military guy. He disciplined me, physically. But I also saw my father not take shit from anybody. I've seen my father fight a few times. I was in a fight with my father and my brother against a bunch of guys.
In a bar?
Yeah. Outside a bar. Yeah.
You, your dad, and your brother?
Yeah. And
that's a movie.
It's unbelievable.
A movie right now? How is that? It's like The Outsiders, but the Nylons.
Incredible. I went with my dad to have a couple beers, me and my brother.
Yeah.
I think I was 17. I was 17, I think. And we were at the bar over by his work. We went to meet him, and we were parked right in front of the bar. We're having a few drinks. It was one of them, the first time in a bar with my father ever. We'd have a beer at home or something, but the first time in a bar. And we're in there, and I'm looking around. I look out front, and there's a kid trying to steal my father's car. So I run out. I said, hey, I ran out. My father got up. My brother got up and chased me out. And I chased him down the street. And my father said, Chris, he's yelling at me. Chris. I chased him into a bar. And all his boys were in the bar. And then we end up anyway, we got arrested, the whole thing. Anyway. But yeah, so I saw my father fight. I was in a fight with him. And, growing up in my neighborhood. So, it was learned behavior. And plus, my father instilled in me things that, you go out in the street, people are going to try and get over on you. They're going to try and take advantage of you. Stick up for yourself my father always taught me to stick up for other kids. And that's where that came from. So part of it's learned, part certainly, I think is a
inherited.
Inherited. So anyway, to getting back to PJ, because this is about you, not me. Victoriaville, you go to the Q and you play there, and you leave the Q, and you had a ton of minutes there.
Yeah, I think that's where it started.
You started fighting in the Q, like was that something? Were people trying to like take advantage of? How did the fighting start with you on the ice?
Well, again, competitive and growing up with a brother a year and a half younger, we all played sports every day, and it was again competitive, and I go to junior hockey where it's really the first place where you're allowed fighting, and again, I maybe a little bit over competitive on some plays. I used to play defense. And
yeah, you're a D-man, right?
Yeah. You hit a guy open. I mean, every team did the same breakout, right? Here's the net, defenseman with it, and the two centermen and the other defenseman will just swing around like this, and they always pass it to the centerman pretty much on his backhand as he's looking back for it. So I see the play, and I just run up and I smoke this guy. And back then, they'd send somebody after me that's what hockey was back then.
Right.
To kick my ass. And that's exactly what happened. One time, then another time. So they got me a big defense partner by the name of Matthew Raby, which I love Matthew.
I know Matthew. Listen, Matthew played for me in the East Coast League.
Oh, yeah. Matt
in
was
Chesapeake.
my defense partner.
There you go.
Matt, one of the nicest guys. He's like 6'4",
tough kid,
Adonis, big lefty. Didn't love fighting, but he was just so big and so strong that you get pigeonholed into that spot. So Matt saved my life all the time. And then now Matt is in the penalty box. And back then teams had a second guy, a third guy, a fourth guy. So, and that's what happened. I after Matt saved my life with the bigger guy, the next guy would come, and then the next guy. And I ended up getting into one, and then two, and then you do well against one, as you know, Knux, and then the next guy wants to try you, and it snowballed. And in junior, the penalty minutes just came because the second year I was an English captain of a team in a French league where I try and yell with the referees, and the refs were like, "Hey, Anglais, get in the box." I was like trying to yell at them, and they're like, "Stop spitting on me, get in the box." So the minutes piled up in junior, and that's where it kind of really started. Where it really started. I had a couple of good tilts. And that went okay, and then it gives you that swagger, a little bit more confidence.
Yeah. So your last year at junior, you put some numbers up: 62 points in 67 games, so you could play the game. And what happens there? What's the decision? Did you not get drafted and said, "Listen, I'm going to go to college"? What happened there?
No, I was look, talking to you, Knux. The sun's shining in right now. It's beautiful. I was not drafted. Again, I was small. Junior, I was maybe 5'9", maybe 160 pounds. I was a defenseman, maybe 170. I don't even remember.
Adam Fox type.
Without Adam Fox's skill. Okay, so that's kind of, and a lot of times you're a good player, but you're better because of the people that you're surrounded with, right? Like I use Michael Komisarek, who was an amazing defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. No, this is not where I'm going, but I'm just explaining to people listening that you thought he was like an all-star defenseman, and he was. He had some great moments. But when he went to Toronto and didn't have Andrei Markov to play with anymore, and then he had to play with someone else, like him and Markov were so great together. And you can compliment whoever you want of the duo, but the duo was great, and Mike Komisarek looked great. Then he goes to Toronto, and he's playing with someone else that is not as great as Mark, and he looked
not as talented.
So he looked like he was off. So there's, I go back to, I wasn't great, but my team wasn't great either. Some players can get camouflaged in a situation where the team around them is really good, and look at a college football team. They got 10 first-rounders coming out of it. You're the punter on that team. You look great just because of de facto. I wasn't great, and I wasn't on a great team. So, and I was small. There's a million reasons why I wasn't drafted or asked to go anywhere. But I ended up, after my second year, I did play that style that you got recognized, and I got a call from the New York Rangers to go to
Well,
camp.
what happened? But what happened with the St. Francis X? Did you
Yeah,
get
well,
a call
sorry,
from the
I
Rangers
wasn't-
before that?
No, there's no option. I don't think I'm going to play pro.
So you're gonna go play college, extend your career.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wanted to, ideally growing up watching Notre Dame, it was amazing. I wanted to go to Notre Dame is what I actually wanted to do. I wanted to go to a U.S. I grew up in an area that Kent Hughes is now the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, but Kent was one of those guys in the West Island that from a good family, all education. His brother Ryan was drafted by the Quebec Nordiques. Middlebury. Ryan's at Cornell. There was other guys. Oh my God, Dan Gravel went to Merrimack. Brad Purdy went to Maine. Like I was around.
So there were guys around you
people
going off to college, and you
off
wanted
to
to
college, and that's the goal that I wanted. But the moment you play junior, you can't do that. So I ended up taking option B, which is at the time you didn't know how amazing Canadian colleges. So I not drafted, not a great stats, not everything. What's the next best thing for me? It was Canadian college. I was really excited about the opportunity. I went to a school called St. Francis Xavier.
In Halifax, right? Around Halifax.
Antigonish,
Nova Scotia.
Yeah, great spot.
So you go off there, and when does the offer to the Rangers come about, and how does that happen? You go off and play Antigonish, and all of a sudden you're gonna go the next year. You're gonna go to the Rangers. What happened there?
A little bit of a jump there. Just before I agreed to go to St. FX, just before I go to school, I get invited to a training camp. Like at the last second, I get invited to a Rangers training camp, which I'm like, do I go? Do I not go?
Where did they see you? Like
junior.
In junior. So they're going to invite you to camp. Someone in junior. All right.
Just like, and it was kind of, now that we see how it works, you have all your drafted players, and then you have to fill out a couple of spots to, you want to make 4 teams so you can play, white versus red, blue versus green. And so I guess
training camp.
So they needed a couple bodies for training camp. So I got asked just before, the season started to come down to training camp. And I'm like, do I go? I'm going to miss a week of the university. Talk over with my parents. And they're like, why not? So I went down to training camp, and that was actually funny. It kind of summed up how did I get into fighting and everything. But I didn't know the rule about slow down with veterans. There's some people you can't hit.
In training camps.
Yeah.
Well, I had the same problem, but go ahead.
I almost. Kovalev was coming back from a knee surgery. Again, I didn't follow hockey a ton, so I didn't know Wayne Gretzky's there. Besides Gretz and Pat LaFontaine, I know the big names, but I didn't know a ton. So I'm just running around doing what I'm doing, and I missed Kovalev with an open ice hit by this much, and the Rangers, the veterans came after me. I had the puck goes down. And I have Shane Churla and Ulf Samuelsson both run me like elbows to the head, stick to the throat. Kind of that's their way of. And then back in training camp, you get a penalty shot for a the guy that took the penalty on you chases you. So so I start at center. He's on the back of the half circle. And you go, and it's Shane Churla, and he's swearing at me, I'm going to fucking kill you. You score, I'm going to break your neck. And I'm like, oh, my God. I was so nervous. Anyways, I fell and missed and whatever, went away. And anyways, it was only a short couple of weeks, but they cut everyone to go to the minors, and they went to cut me to the minors, and I said, thank you, I'm going to school now. I just wanted to, I went to. You're
going to go back to school after the first camp.
Yeah. And then as I'm leaving, they're like, no, we want you to stay. And I'm like, no, I want to leave. And there was no cell phones back then. And they sit me in a room and they kind of close the door and they're like, hey, we want you to sign something. And I'm like, what is going on here? I want to go home. I want my mom right now. So I left, went to St. FX. But the following year, that year at Christmas, they approached me. And then when the school year was over, they followed up with, we're really interested in having you come back to Rangers camp and we'll give you a contract if you're willing to come back.
So you went back to school, had that year,
Did the year at St. FX.
and you came back to training camp next year. Did you sign a contract in the summer?
Yeah, signed a contract just before the camp started. It was $300,000 in the NHL, $30,000 in the American Hockey League, and $18,000 in the East Coast League. I mean, I think they pretty much had like the Mexican League underneath it too, because they thought I was going to go. I was going to keep going down. And again, I grew up in the area. What I mentioned.
So you had a 3-way deal.
Yeah. All those guys that I mentioned that went to U.S. colleges were way better than me.
Yeah.
So I thought I'm never going to play a game pro. Like we all played summer hockey together, right? Knux, we grew up in the air, and all those guys that I played with were just way better than me. I never thought I'd play a second. And what happens is I thought I started in the East Coast, and I ended up making the American Hockey League out of camp. And then 17 games in, I got called up to New York, and that was
all she wrote. That's awesome.
Crazy.
So that second camp, though, you didn't hit any veterans, did you?
I hit everyone.
Did you?
I hit everyone. I
did you fight in camp? The second camp?
I did. So for people listening, there's these things called rookie games that we used to play in, and it's pretty much
Rangers against the Bruins or
they're like
all
3 or
rookies.
4 teams, all rookies playing. And there's pretty much no puck on the ice, because back then they were looking to see. It was crazy.
It was a fuck you fest.
It was nonstop beat the shit out of each other. I mean, they'd drop the puck, and then everyone would fight, and the puck would never move. They'd pick the puck back out, send 10 more guys on the ice, drop the puck again.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it was. And I think I survived camp. That's kind of maybe what it is. I survived camp, and that kind of, they're like, hey, if this guy can survive this shit kicking, this guy might be able to play for us one day.
If you're like me and you're going to play some golf this summer, you have to check out this hidden gem. Windmill Heights sits atop the beautiful hills in Notre Dame de Perot. They have affordable rates, and they offer customized membership opportunities for all levels. If you want to book a tee time, call 514-453-7177. Hit them straight. If you love your pet like I love my St. Bernard Adele, you'll want to feed them a balanced, biologically appropriate raw diet. The reason I've chosen Formula Raw is because all blends of their food are locally sourced, and they consist of exclusively human-grade meat and organs, as well as fruits and vegetables. And all products used are hormone and antibiotic free. So like I said, if you love your pet like I love Adele, you choose Formula Raw. Make sure you go to formularaw.com and use the promo code RawKnux at checkout to receive 10% off your first order. That's RawKnux, RawKnux. So, listen, with the Rangers, you 38 games, 97, 98, 98, 99, 5 games, but then you went back down the Wolfpack, and decent numbers.
Yeah,
decent numbers.
I sat in the stands more than any human being. That's what the thing was. So the games I played weren't as much as the games I sat out, pretty much, right? So Colin Campbell was my first coach in New York, and he was great. He loved that style of play.
Yeah, of course he did. Yeah.
And then John Muckler took over, and John Muckler hated young guys and hated the fourth line. So I'm the youngest guy on the Rangers, and I'm on the fourth line.
I didn't care for Muckler. I never cared for that guy.
Yeah, I never played. I sat in the stands. So up until in my second year, he replaced our fourth line with a couple older guys, and I was still on the team, but I didn't play until I played 5 games up until Christmas. Every day getting bag skated, which I love, but it becomes, I'm not working on anything. I just don't want to go to practice, or I'm saving energy in practice, knowing that I'm going to get bag skated after practice. Darren Langdon is one of my favorite people in the world. Darren,
he's awesome.
Langer would wait for me every day after practice because he knew that I'd get skated. I was one of the only guys there that had to get skated because you couldn't skate anyone else. They're
Yeah.
all veterans. You know, he's not going to make, you know, Wayne Gretzky, Adam Graves, Kevin Stevens, you know.
We're not going to make them skate.
They're not going to make them skate, but they still have to get their frustrations out. So let's skate the dumb young kid. So that's exactly what I got skated every day. Langer would wait for me with 2 beers and some pizza. Every time we go to the bar after, and then we'd sit down and hang out. But it was a different time. Like it was.
It's funny because I look at now. Do you ever think of this? And because I'm looking at that year with the Wolfpack. You progressively, to me, looking at your numbers, you got better. You got better. You got an opportunity. You were playing. Yeah. I don't believe that you ever got that true opportunity at the NHL level. And I say that because back then, fourth line sat most of the game. You get out here and there. Now you need a fourth line. You need a fourth line, and they play more. Do you feel you could have done better, like put better numbers up, at least had better 100%. Numbers if you got that opportunity? Yeah,
it was – I think back to coaching, and I'm watching the games played today. And really, I loved all my coaches. Well, the ones that taught me anyways, or played me, I meant. Mm-hmm. We weren't really ever taught anything at that level. Like, you were never really – you're just there. And I know it's not a development league, but –
yeah, you're supposed to know your shit when you get there, right?
Yeah, but I don't think the coaches know their shit half the time. That's what I look back at. Why would you not – like, I don't always get teams putting their fourth line on the ice with your fifth and sixth defenseman. Like, I let's put your 5 worst players on the ice and hope for the best. You know, some guys are going, and some guys you could spot in every now and then. Some players aren't playing great. You can mix and match.
Yeah, Give a guy a chance.
Yeah, like, you know, Montreal Canadiens the other night. Ullinen has 2 goals after like 3-4 shifts, and I'm like, there's still like a period and a half to play. This guy's hot. Suzuki or somebody else, I'm just picking a name, isn't hot right now. Maybe try for a couple shifts, pumping this guy up onto another line and giving him who knows what could happen. It's not the end of the world. It's 1 game, 1 shift. Let's see. Back then, it was just John Muckler didn't like the fourth line. So I didn't play up until Christmas. I played 5 games, and my agent at the time was like, you got to get out of here. It's like, you had a pretty good first year. This is just going to hurt your process, your progress. So I went back down to the minors, which was Hartford, where, like you said, and it's a big argument, you know, it's NHL is not a development league, but the AHL is kind of a confidence league. I think that's the way I explain it, and that's where I did. I went there.
Yeah, you did. Well, I look at your numbers there, and you did, like, you got an opportunity to play, and that. Yeah. And on the flip side with me, and this is why I say it, because I feel so grateful for the coaches I had in Montreal, from Claude Rell, who helped me every day. And then Lemaire came, and forget about it. Talk about it. It's not a league where you teach. You got to, you know, not developmental league. But he helped develop my skills.
Like how? How? Like doing stuff for...
Yeah. He would take me after practice. Instead of skating me,
right,
he would take me in the center ice circle, and he'd stand on the edge, and he'd have a puck. And he said, you're going to react to wherever I put this puck. And he would pass it to me on my forehand. And then I'd have to, if I got on my forehand, I had to give it back on my backhand. If I got on my backhand, I had to give him my forehand. He would make me move my feet. And he would say, here, the reason I'm doing this, I want you to have quick feet, be able to change direction real quick in a small area. And I want you to be able to control the puck with it at the same time. So he'd do that. Then he took me down the net.
That's awesome.
And he said, Crit, you're going to score your goals from here, okay? And I want you to take the puck. He'd put like 20 pucks. He'd say, take 1 up on your forehand, 1 on your backhand, 1 on your forehand, 1 on your backhand. Because you're going to be getting rebounds in front of the net. You got to put it up over the goalie and do it quick. And he would take me down there and do that. He would explain what the drill and why he's doing it. And it was unbelievable. One day he comes to me, Peach, and he says, how long do you think you have the puck on your stick in a game? And I'm like, I don't know, 2 minutes. He said, what? 2 minutes? I wasn't even thinking, right? I'm there, I have 2 minutes.
How many
He
seconds?
said, Wayne Gretzky don't have 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So he said, really, think about it. I'm now, okay, maybe 10 seconds if I'm lucky. He said, maybe 7 if you're lucky. Depends on the game. But he said, like all his warm-up drills in the morning, before you got into the practice, were with pucks. And he said, the reason I do this is because I want everybody to be more comfortable with the puck. So when they get in the game, they're more comfortable with the puck.
Yeah.
And when you have the puck for that short time, you better do something good with it. He was unbelievable like that.
That is awesome.
You know, I benefited from that.
The one thing that I also like what you said there is, and I think that gets lost, is when coaches give drills, players sometimes just think it's robotic and it's just a drill. But there's a reason why you're doing that drill. And then it opens your mind by the way you think about doing that drill, because then you can visualize it, you know, in a game. And like the way you just said, you know, I could see a shot coming, you getting ready to tip it, but you can't. It gets stopped. You got to go down, but the goalie's already down. So you got to get there, go to your backhand and flip it over his pad and put it up. Yeah. Right. And that's kind of and that's exactly, you know, Robbie Fatorik was one guy that he did coach me, but to the point of, man, your hands are terrible. Your hands are terrible. You know what? I want you to watch a guy like Dave Andreychuk. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, Dave Andreychuk has been in this league for 100 years. What does he do? And I'm like,
holds on to the puck.
I don't know. He goes, well, when he gets it on the puck in the zone, he just gets it out of the zone. So he had me flip it off, practice flipping it off the boards every time, rim around, get it, flip it off the boards. And then he'd be like, God, your hands are terrible. So I wasn't allowed off the ice until I flipped all the pucks into the bucket. So I put the bucket there, and I'd be on the ice for 3 hours.
Thanks,
the Zamboni
Robbie.
the Zamboni guy is like, we got to go. I want to get home for supper. But, I wasn't taught a ton. And I think going back, I think you used the term comfortable there, but going back to Hartford, let me do things that I was maybe too scared to try up in New York. Because if I made a mistake, they would put me on the bench again.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So I could try things there, which doing them, you became more confident or more comfortable.
Yeah,
I'd be more comfortable trying to do something, or even just the play itself, because
have the confidence to do it, because you've done it and you didn't get fucking chastised for making a mistake. You got maybe someone corrected it, but the next time you wouldn't make it. But so you go from there to the Habs. Coming back to Habs, how does that happen? One, and coming home here, how was that? All right, coming to the Montreal Canadiens. My mom and dad are going to be able to come to games. My brother, my family's going to be able to come see me play. How cool was that?
It was. I actually had a better offer to sign with the Buffalo Sabres. I was speaking to a few teams. And the Buffalo Sabres were like, "Hey, you're going to play on a line with probably Rob Ray." They had me tell me what they were, where I was, chance I was going to end up, but I had the opportunity.
Buffalo,
I had
the city they forgot to finish.
Yeah. I had, come on, the Canadiens. You have an opportunity to play for the Canadiens, and everything you just said. Like my dad, I remember my dad, us all sitting on our bed, my grandmother's bed, because that's where the one TV was, and we just watch a Habs game, as a family. And I'm thinking, I could be part of that experience. I could be part of my friends, the area I grew up on, them, watching me. And I just won the American League Championship. Had a great playoff against Buffalo's Farm Club, which is Rochester. I was playing, 20 some odd minutes a night, and I'm thinking this is that next step, and signing with the Montreal Canadiens. Reggie Houle was a general manager at the time. And Alain Vigneault was the coach. And I thought this would be perfect. I was really excited, nervous, and then I get here, and it just, from the get-go, was nothing nothing went the way I had hoped it had gone.
That sucks.
Nothing.
And it sucks. You were here for 20 games.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was here till Christmas, pretty much.
Till Christmas.
Yeah.
And what happens? What happened?
Well, this is what happens. It starts the season off where we're in Calgary doing a team building event. You know how everyone gets together and we're all like,
swing from some ropes and shit.
Yeah. You have a partner's fall back, all those things.
Yeah,
we're playing blindfolded soccer.
Who the fuck started that?
Coach Vino has been playing blind, and
way to go, fucking Alan.
You have a guy holding you, telling you where to go. So I actually, like I said, I was pretty good at soccer, but I end up getting the ball on my foot, and I don't know how I get it because you're all. So now I just start dribbling slowly because no one else can see me. And
someone walk you into a wall or something?
Fucking Andre Markov pushed me right into somebody else's head. I bust my nose. I'm bleeding everywhere. And Andre Markov didn't speak. And that's why they gave him to me, thinking this loud guy, it'll be great and blah. So here's Alain Vigneault, like, this is our new fucking tough guy? Bleeding all over from blind. He was funny about it, but that's how it started. And then things just never went well. You know, that was the year prior to the last couple of years for the Canadians where they set the most injury games. Saku Koivu went down in game 2 with his knee. Trevor Linden, Benny Brunet. We had Eric Weinrich got hurt. Sheldon Surrey's wrist. It was like boom, boom, boom. So I ended up firing Vigneault and Houle because we're really bad. And then, but we're bad because we're just bad. Our whole team's injured. And then they bring in Terrier and Andre Savard. And Terrier and I had a history with each other from like junior in the American Hockey League. And one of the first things that he liked to do was make his team a lot bigger and tougher. So he trades me from Montreal to Philly. In those 20 games that I played for the Canadians, which everyone thinks was a lot more, it wasn't. I was so nervous. Every game I played, I looked up and saw people I knew, and then I made a mistake on the ice. And
it's so hard because, listen, I just look at it. When there's turmoil like there was in the organization then, Vigneault, all that, it's like you get lost fucking quickly.
You get lost.
You get lost quickly. So I certainly get that. And it's too bad because it would have been nice if things worked out here.
Yeah,
so you go to...
it's like... You know what? There's guys that I played against in that organization that had a lot of success in this town because of just the way they worked. You know, and I can't compare you because you're 20 goals. Did you get 31 year?
21,
yeah. So you're 20. You're in the team for a bunch of years. That's not comparable. Like a Steve Bégin type of Christopoulos type of fourth line guy that just works really hard, and the fans love that. And that's what I kind of envisioned because it had worked that way in other places. In junior, it went that way. At college, it went that way. American Hockey League, it had gone that way. 3 years up and down with the Rangers, and I got like fan favorite, and every year, and I'm thinking this is the year with the Canadians, and I'm gonna be, I'm friends with Natasha Lambert, whose father is Yvon. So I grew up going to see Mr. Lambert all the time. And I played against J.F. Houle, who's now the coach of the Val. His dad was, Reggie. And I was seeing myself just work hard. This is what it's, and it just, nothing went well. Nothing went well. And I really wish I could do it over again today because I think I'd be different, and I think I'd think differently, and I just wish it played out differently.
Yeah, it's funny, that knowledge, right? You get when you're older.
It's easy now.
I wish I knew this when I was younger. But again, I want to get to your time in Boston because to me, that's where things for you really took off. And the fan base absolutely love you. They've always embraced tough guys. And you were certainly one tough son of a bitch, and you are. And I don't say that lightly. And I want to go to, do you remember the time we spoke?
Yeah. I'm for people I'm doing warm up. And I'm skating around and
at the old timers game.
Oh well, I'm talking about the time you grabbed me and you're like telling me to hold up and you're like
yeah. That was at the old timers game, and I talked to you and I said, Peach, we were talking and
grappling.
You said,
tell me,
how do you think it's
don't
going?
Do that. Yeah.
That's
what do you have for me?
Anyway, and I'm not. I want to get to the point where, and I've. Listen, I give you all the credit in the world the way you fought. I look at that Stephen Pete fight, right?
Yeah.
And you were firing lefts. The piston was going. And then you switched to right, and I'm like, wow, the right's going like crazy. But in the same respect, you're leaving yourself wide open. And I remember I talked to you about that, and I said, geez, you're going to end up getting hurt if you got to protect yourself once in a while. That's the only way I know how to fight, and that's fine. And I give you all the credit in the world. But eventually it did catch you, right?
Well, every night it caught me. I got tagged all the time. Yeah. Well, it's easier said than done. I was too small to really.
I know. I hear you.
Not only that, I don't know how you did. How would you fight Rob Ray? You guys came out of your equipment all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't fight a guy No, you didn't. But I mean,
I tied down.
Yeah, but I started against guys that were bigger, stronger, and I know you did as well too. And I wasn't strong enough to get in and kind of hold people the way I wanted to. And again, my head just goes to a different place. It goes to Rocky Balboa and then against 20,000 people watching. And again,
no, I hear you.
I
hear you. It's easier said than done. When you have a certain style, it's not easy to change. Right. And it's funny. I learned early with me that. And I remember the game. It was against the Bruins early. I fought Jonathan, had a decent fight with him, and then O'Reilly. And I knew he's a lefty. And I said, I'm going to go with him. And I threw a right, and he come back and hit me with two lefts. I could not see. The blood was pouring out of my head. And we get to the penalty box, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. And it wasn't words, but he goes like that. And he pointed to his left, and I'm like, fuck. He crushed me because I loved O'Reilly. Right. And now my pride's hurt. Yes. And I'm like sitting there. And I said to myself, if I fight like this every night, something bad's going to happen. And I'm either going to break my jaw. I said, I got to get smarter about the way I fight. I have to get better technically. So I always went into a fight knowing a guy's a righty or lefty. And I'm going to say, listen, I'm going to take his strength away right away. And I don't care what anybody thinks. I grab. I don't give a fuck. I want to play this game. I want to be around. I want to play hockey too. But it took, it took a while to get it going. But then I had that technique where I'd always, the guy's a lefty, I'm grabbing your left and I'll throw my left. But I had to, and then I started throwing uppercuts also. But I'd always tie up and then fight. Throws. Yeah. And then I want to fight the way I wanted to fight, not the way the other guy wanted me to fight. And that I was able to last. But anyway, different styles, and it is hard to change. You have to really apply it. And sometimes you learn by making mistakes.
There's no real school, right?
No, there isn't.
There's a stick handling school, a shooting school. And back when we played, the game was way different. There was, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys on a team that could do it. And you just learn. It's one of those things. The only way to get experience is to get experience. So you'd have to take a couple licks to learn how to do it. And like you said, you took that one. I fought a lot, and I fought the way, but I fought more or less. I couldn't hold guys out because I got these little minion arms that I'd let them throw, but I would throw a punch under theirs. So they're kind of like punching over the top. I couldn't hold them out. That was my thing. Their arms were too long. And so as we're going back to my 5'10" and 1/8 arms. So a lot of it looked like I was going toe to toe, but a lot of it was that's my defense. It's like I'm protecting this. I'm protecting this.
Yeah.
You can punch me over here. Just
Yeah.
don't punch me here.
So for you, and I've talked to so many fighters, but what was it like, I guess, in the middle of a fight, or you're in that fight and you're going, can you kind of explain that emotion? What was that emotion for you in a fight? Like,
Don't fucking get hit. Don't let
Yeah,
go.
right.
I was actually pretty calm and I actually loved the moment. I loved the moment. I was pretty confident.
I enjoyed fighting.
Yeah,
A lot of people say I enjoyed my job.
Yeah. I can't really, like, I don't know what to say. Like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I did I work at it? I went, I worked at, I worked at a lot of, it was part of I took jujitsu. I went to boxing classes. I worked on it. There was no one to touch back then. So you have to teach yourself different things. I took a beating one time by someone with a lefty. So, I taught myself to be left-handed to make sure that would never happen again.
You showed it in that Pete fight. I'm telling you, I was surprised. Like, you're a natural righty, right? And you pumped that fucking left like you're a natural lefty.
Because I got tagged like you're O'Reilly left, and you're like, that ain't happening again. So actually, one of my favorite fights, Knuckles, was I took over Ryan Vandenbush's job for the New York Rangers. I didn't take it over, but I kind of was the next Ryan Vandenbush to come in, fourth line guy, and Ryan was a great guy, and I just tagged Nick Kyprios in I think training camp, and knocked out Nick Kyprios. Was that big pool, terrible picture, but Kipper falls on the ground and hits his head in the big pool of blood, and I think Ryan, they, even though that he's having success, they call me up from the minors, and I start taking his job. And in practice, Eric Cairns and Ryan Vandenbush would kick the shit out of me because they wanted, Ryan wanted us to stay on the team, and Eric Cairns was his best buddy. And the two of them, whenever we did battle drills or whatever, they just lay a beating on me every time. I was, when they traded Ryan that year, I think to Chicago, was it Chicago first? Anyways, that was a moment that I had been fearing having to fight Ryan. And one of the last times I saw him fight, I mean, we didn't have these for every video in the world.
He could throw him.
He could chuck him, and
he's wiry, but he would.
Oh my God, could he chuck him? And I was so scared until the first time that I fought him. And you talk about, guys a lefty fight this way, fight that. As much as I tried to study, Ryan was the one fight that I was really scared of because of everyone loves the fighting but a life can change this quick if you land one or they land one.
Oh,
like you could, people could die. And I think that gets lost a little bit in it. But I loved it.
right.
Like, I was so scared for the Ryan one, and I taught myself to fight left-handed for that one day that I was going to fight Vandenbush, which was like a couple years later. Ryan kicked my ass too. But it was I didn't die. And that was my concern. So
yeah, I didn't either, and thank God we didn't. But I want to go to your time in Boston. 3 different coaches: Vitoric, O'Connell. I don't like O'Connell, by the way. Yeah. And I'll tell. But anyway, he had some things to say in the newspaper about me and my family, and anyway, which I didn't like. And honestly, your time, he was a coach, and then he was a general manager your third year, and you end up leaving Boston. Now, the whole ass kicker crew started in Boston, right? With the security guys and the cops, right?
Yeah.
Tell me that story. What happened there?
I was having, again, blue-collar city, Boston.
A great city. Isn't it the best?
City, yeah. And it was a great time. And
People loved you there, Peach.
Yeah, it was a blue.
They embraced
town.
you big time.
Yeah,
They did.
We were the number one team in the Eastern Conference. Joe Thornton was on fire. Glenn Murray had 40 goals. Brian Rolston had 30. Billy Guerin had 40.
Hee-haw. O'Connell. Hee-haw.
Yeah.
Joe Thornton.
They traded him the next year. He gets MVP. But they end up, they get tired of writing about all these other guys that are superstars. Hey, who else is left on the team? Let's write about PJ. So I had a couple of good scraps, and one of them was the Stephen Pete one. And I have a police officer that comes into our locker room with a box of shirts. Actually, stay there. So this is actually funny, the irony of the timing of this. But comes in with these shirts, and these are actually the shirts that they had. It said PJ Stock Crew, and on the back, the nameplate.
Ass kicker. That's awesome.
Ass kicker. So he's like, these people are selling stuff with your name on it. And I'm like, oh, they're like, do you want me to?
That sucks. I got to get a piece of that.
Well, I'm like, in my head, what do you want me to do with them? What do you want me? Because I was the first hockey player they did this with at the time. I guess more Red Sox guys or whatever. But I'm like, you kidding me? This is the best thing ever. I want tell them I'm keeping this box for my friends and tell them to keep selling them. And it just started off like it was kind of one of those things in Boston that just took off. And it was super cool. It was,
and to your detriment, I think honestly, you were more popular than Mike O'Connell, and I don't think he liked that. And you did get hurt. Yeah. You ended up
orbital bone, the stick in the
your
eye.
Orbital bone, right?
I had a couple things, but they it got a little popular, and I don't know. I don't think.
Not a little. You were a lot fucking popular. Yeah. Listen, I was there. I saw it. I heard it. I watched it. But and I remember you got hurt. You ended up.
They put me in the minors and they shipped me out of town right away. Like, get out of here.
And then you were gone. Like, fuck, I couldn't believe it.
They just signed me to a 2-year extension. And it was just, it made no sense. Michael
O'Connell. That's all I'm going to say.
They brought a few other people into the organization that had their own ideas. And they had their own guys that they wanted.
He got rid of you. He traded Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton, and who was it? Marco Strum.
Yeah.
He was the top player in the deal? Are you kidding me? First
player ever to be traded and win the MVP in the league
next
with the
year.
other team. What?
Insanity.
I think it was, yeah.
And I don't think, I'll be honest, I don't think Kevin Paul DuPont helped the Joe Thornton cause. He didn't like Joe Thornton for some reason. Yeah. But he hammered him in the paper all the time. He had something against him. And I don't know if he got into Mike O'Connell's ear, but boy, Joe was gone, you're gone. So you go to Providence.
Just a week. And then they get me out of there. I was only there a weekend.
Yeah, a weekend. Then down to Philadelphia. You play 66 games. Yeah. And did you get hurt again?
Well, I was hurt from like the first week in the minors. I wasn't hurt. They put me in the minors. And then I got hurt. And then the whole year was pretty much done. And you know what? Back to your point earlier. You know what? I might have been fighting probably not the smartest way. And the blessing in disguise was I got a stick in the eye injury, which was, not bad. My life's perfect. Everything's great. Healthy kids. I got a good job. Everything's awesome. Yeah. I don't know how much longer I could have fought the way that I fought at that level. So I'm kind of.
Well, I appreciate your honesty on that. I do. Yeah. Like, I think that's what a lot of guys, I don't know if would be that honest when it comes to that.
I got out with some other excuse, because my ego would have kept me in that game for as long as I could and tried to punch my way out of it. And it's like my kids all play rugby, which I love rugby, but rugby's an accident kind of waiting to happen. You're
Yeah.
going to get hurt because that's what,
Yeah.
and that's what, fighting was at that time too. There's something down this pipe. If you keep trading punches with people that are bigger and stronger than you, it's going to happen. You're going to take one sooner or later. So
No question.
Boston was awesome. The t-shirts were awesome. I still have them. So it's pretty fun. Like it's, pjstock.com, by the way.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. No, people ask, where are those shirts? And I'm like, what shirts? And I'm like, well, can I buy some off you? I'm like, I don't have any of those shirts. So just recently I decided a good friend of mine helped me kind of redesign a site in the world that we're in right now. And we've did a couple events and people are always asking for them. So we brought them back.
Could that have been Michelle?
Yes, it's exactly Michelle. Yeah. My also my boss.
She's awesome.
Yeah. So we got some cool stuff. But we're pretty lucky, Knux. We sit back and looking at, this T-shirt that they had that people wore with my name on it. I'm looking at you, all those cool pictures behind you and your jersey. It's pretty awesome, the gifts that hockey has given us.
Yeah, there's no question about it. No question.
It's pretty. We're two very lucky people. We talked about all those teams that we played on before, and I was talking about how I was in Pembroke, and then in Victoriaville, and then I was at St. FX, and then I, all those.
A lot of great experiences, right?
Yeah, and hockey was the vehicle that got me to all those places and to meet all those people. So you and I were considering, where we started to now we're both in our basements, but the path that we took to get there was really, really cool. Really cool.
Let me ask you, I want to ask a few more things. Couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
The biggest highlight of your career?
Besides this? Besides being on the Knuckles?
What's the biggest highlight of your hockey career, you fresh bastard? Give me the highlight. Was it winning in Hartford? I don't know. Was it?
You know what? I was really, there's been so many. The surrealness of being called up to the Rangers after, 6 months, not even 6 months earlier, I was at St. FX finding the cheapest beer and the cheapest pizza slices at university, which is the university life.
Yeah.
A couple months later, and I'm not expected to make any hockey league ever. I thought I was going to start way down here. I end up I'm playing with the New York Rangers and Wayne Gretzky and Adam Graves and Pat LaFontaine and Mike Richter and Brian Leach and Bukaboom. It was crazy. At MSG in front of 20,000 people
and you're still driving a clitoris.
Yeah, I was driving the Taurus. Yes,
the Taurus.
The Taurus. And then which everyone called the clitoris.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to start on the East Coast making $18,000. So I can't afford to buy a fancy car. Everyone did back then. Whenever they got their signing bonus, they'd go buy a fancy car. And then they never play a game, and they're stuck with this $100,000 car. Yeah. So, you know what? That I scoring for the first game with the Canadians was awesome. Scoring, I think my favorite, though, is a playoff goal I scored for the Bruins against the Canadians. So it's kind of a double whammy. A, I'm scoring in the playoffs and contributing to a great team. And B, all the people that thought I was shit, I just scored a real nice goal for the Boston Bruins. And all my friends that I wish they'd seen me do something, and now hockey's on every channel in the world, and you can get it. It wasn't as much back then. So they got to see one moment of my career, even though I was for the Bruins. So I scored, on the Bell Center ice playing for the Boston Bruins
awesome.
at playoffs.
So there's the highlight I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Now, looking back, coaches, who was your favorite coach over the course of your career? The guy that you'd go through a fucking wall for?
I loved Colin Campbell. Billy Barber was a great coach as well. Billy was awesome. I had John Fatorik there for a bit. I love that John looked at me and said, "Hey, you're crap."
Robbie.
Robbie. Sorry. Robbie.
Yeah.
Robbie had some quirks.
He's a different bird, right?
Yeah, but he was great. He was really great for me. And I think that's the important thing. It's not necessarily the big team picture. Sometimes it's that relationship with the individual, and
Yeah.
Robbie was great for me. So it's hard, for all different moments and experiences. Colin Campbell's my first coach with the Rangers. Fatorik's the coach while I have success in Boston. So I think the influence of those moments influence what I think of the coach.
Today's game. What are you thinking about today's game? I heard you talk about leadership and the importance of it on teams, and I know how important it is because I know what it did for me being around Bob Gainey, Larry Robinson, Serge Savard, Guy Lafleur, those guys. What do you, when you look at the game today, what do you think of the game, the health of the game?
I want people to do something tonight or tomorrow or next time they watch a hockey game. Close your eyes and listen to the game today. And all you hear is stick checks. All you hear is stick, and that's all it is. There's the lack of physicality in the game right now. At the end of the day, hockey is a form of entertainment. The number one sport in the world, well, North America I'm talking about. People love football. People love NASCAR. People love UFC. People love that gladiator moment, and that's what it is. It's a gladiator moment. They love seeing this David Goliath. Like they're in for the big car crash, and that's what football is, and that's what hockey doesn't really have that anymore. It's turned it into a lot more of a skill game, and I understand why, but at the same time, I also understand.
Well, why? Why do you think?
Well, I think they're trying to get away from. I think football got into a lot of trouble because of the concussions. I think hockey's trying to get away from some of that as well as, and we're such a copycat league where you have one team come out and they have a skating fourth line versus a fourth line that is more
bangers,
fizzer, and they won. And they look at the reason why that fourth line was able to get more minutes and have more success and help rest the top three lines, and that's why they won. So then it just starts, and then it becomes a copycat, and I think that's what the league's become. I think the problem is we're so. I think what the league thinks what the fan wants is more goals. I don't think in reality is what the fan wants. I think the fan wants, I think they want them to play more against rivalries like they used to have. Yeah. Now, like the Canadians play Toronto in game 2 of the season, I think. They don't play them now till like March or April.
That's part of not wanting fighting in hockey because the rivalries, that's what it produces. It produces this extreme dislike, and you see guys, they get under your skin. I'm going to get them next game. They don't want that. It's like, remember when they were just starting to crack down on fighting, they would make sure the TV camera didn't show the fight, right?
Right.
Yeah, and it was like, it was obvious.
How the TV numbers doing though? We're struggling,
yeah.
Right? That's football kill all in the states. In the states where they love their NASCAR, they love that
part of the game, numbers, and they do in Canada too, right?
It's totally and it's taken out for reasons that I understand the science behind people punching, but the physicality itself has to be in there because it's now when I watch a hockey game. Way too often I can take a jersey off any player and put it on a player on another team, and they all pretty much look the same. Arbor Jack guy in Montreal came into camp last year and was physical, and everyone's like, "Oh, who's this guy? How come he doesn't skate around like everybody else?" Right? And he's a hero, and he adds something to the Canadians that they don't have. And everyone's excited about him. I don't know if we're ever going to add more guys like that, but as much as the game's going away from players like that, the entertainment and the teams that have success need guys like that.
More guys get hurt with headshots than in fights, I believe. God. So while we're on this, I just want to, because recently it's come up and there's talk about putting the red line back in. Now, I know everybody says, oh, my God, the trap and this and that. Right. But here's the deal. Now, NHL games, a lot of times, all you see is that long stretch pass. You stretch the D out.
Down,
the D cheat off. They get back to the puck. It kind of takes away from the forecheck quite a bit.
There is no forecheck.
Yeah, there's no forecheck. So, and then everybody's like, oh my God, if the trap comes back in, it'll definitely come back in if we put the red line back in. But one, the health of the players. So if the league's talking about we want a fast, wide open game, they could give a shit about the health of the players. One. Two, you would actually see teams have to pass their way up the ice to get through that trap, whatever it is. And then three, you would have guys in the offensive zone forechecking and getting on the forecheck and playing the game the way it was designed to be played. I think they've made too many changes, too many tweaks. I'd love to see the red line back in.
You know,
I don't know about you.
I haven't really. I do know the trap. I played in the trap era.
They still play it. They can still play it.
Everyone plays a 1-3-1.
Yeah.
There's three styles you can pretty much play. Everything
left wing lock, trap, 1-3-1.
But it's all pretty much the same system.
Clog the neutral zone up.
Yeah, that's all that it is. So now they just do it with the red line being a little closer. You know what? The game is, I think today with the amount of coaches and everything, it's almost overthought. I know our assistant coaches are at the game 5, they're there at 6 in the morning. Yeah. They leave at 10 o'clock at night.
It's fucking 10 guys behind the bench now.
Yeah.
It's
and at the
crazy.
end of the day, it's a game of mistakes. And the only thing you got to teach the players are, here's this. If this happens, how do we react? How do we react? And how do you minimize the mistakes so you can play within your system and play the style that you want? If the other team can influence their style, which as I said, there's only pretty much 3. It's how do you win it back so it can be back to your style? And it's just you got to convince the players to do so. And that's the one thing you said earlier about hockey. What do I think of it today? I think the game today is gone away from. You kind of said it there with the roots of it. I think we're giving the NHL to these young kids that are, you're 22 years old, 23 years old, and you're the captain of your organization. What do you know at 23 or 22 years old? That, like Sidney Crosby he's one of the youngest captains, but he was surrounded with Mario Lemieux, Mark Grecky, Kevin Steve, Paul. It was crazy. He had a whole bunch of leaders around him. We don't have that in the game anymore. And I think you see it, all these little facets of the game where you miss that big brother mentality, whether it's on the bench, on a shift, in a play. And I think that is what's kind of missing. The game is young and I don't care about it as much. That's the feel that I get. I feel the people don't care about it as much. Because you're giving the keys to the city at 22 years old.
Yeah.
$8 million.
Listen, that's what it's become, though. And a lot has to do with the salary cap era, right? It has to do with, listen, I'd rather.
There's a million reasons why.
Yeah, I'd rather pay a guy. It's like invest in the stock market. You got to do your homework and you invest for the future. Brendan Gallagher got paid for what he's done here.
It's past.
Yeah, he's still going to contribute to this team, but there's a contract that if any NHL general manager looked at it, it's a bad contract.
Yeah.
The Suzuki one, not so bad. The Caulfield one, not so bad because
it's bad now.
That's all expectations, though.
Right.
And you got to pay guys on that now. You don't want to pay them. All right, when they're 30 years old, give them a 7-year contract at $8 million a year, and you're going to eat it. A lot of general managers sign bad contracts. It's almost you have to do it. Now, I want to get back quickly to the 2-line thing. A lot of these guys never played it.
Right.
We see these guys do everything with the puck today. They're talented. They can do the Michigan. They dance. Well, put that red line in and let them use that talent with the puck and the speed and the quickness to find their way up the ice through that trap or whatever defensive system they put. Instead of stepping out, making a long pass, tipping it in, no forecheck, the D comes right back. It's a wide open game. It's fast, but it's a mess.
It is. It is.
It's a mess.
Because
what do you think of the red line? Would you like to see it put back in?
It's a great point. It's the way you describe it. It's the art of hockey, right? You have to think and be creative. And I remember people called Alex Kovalev. He was an artiste. And now you're right. All these kids today are so good. Their skill sets are fantastic. And it'd be great to see these kids use those skills to try and gain zone. Instead of, you talk about how long you have to have your puck on your stick. We talked about it earlier. Well, maybe you have to have it a little bit longer because you have to drag a guy over this way to make a quick bump pass, to make a quick play, to go up. I haven't overly thought it. I like the speed of the game. I didn't like being in the trap era because that's all we practiced every day. That's why I got PTSD from it. But yeah, I think you have to get away for what the skill set that all these kids have. We were talking about how we got into fighting and upbringing and whatever and passion. And I don't think there's enough of that in the game today. That competitiveness, skill set is there. There's no denying how amazing everyone in the league is today with their skill. But their willingness to compete when it comes to the physical level or the physical ask to be part of a successful team, I don't think we see enough of that in the game today. And that means blocking shots. That means finishing checks. That means getting into a check. That means, if someone runs over my goalie, I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again, or that guy knows that he can't do it, or their team's going to know by maybe dropping the gloves, maybe running over their goalie. That's what I think we're missing. And I understand they don't like the physicality because of the potential head issues. I don't know why these players get paid so much money today. And it's almost, no, I don't want to say it's easy. I think it's way less of a demand on the physical aspect than what it used to be.
My whole thing with the red line, and we talk about the forecheck. Now that stretch pass, right? Yeah. D know it's coming. D cheat off. They get the puck. They come up the ice.
You can't stretch, right?
Yeah. And if you now put that red line in and that team comes up the ice together, that D-man can't really cheat off. He's got to hold the blue line. Yeah. And that's when you see guys put the puck behind the guy and you can create the forecheck. And we don't see it hardly anymore. The odd time, they dump the puck properly and okay, you get a forecheck going. But I just think it'd be so much better for this game. It'd really test the talent of these kids, how good they are with the puck, the pass and the skating.
I like that. You know what else? That's the one thing that, since we played to today, I mean, they've changed so much with the face-off dots and the little no entry zone by the goalies in the corners of the rink, the no red line. I mean, you can't touch a guy with your stick in the regular season. But in the playoffs, you can hack a guy over the shoulder. The rules change. But I'd love to see, which is against what the league is thinking because they want to go less physicality. But if a goalie wants to come out and play the puck, he's a fair player. You should be allowed to hit him. If he I'd put a bubble wrap around his net, like a circle, almost like in lacrosse. You can't touch the goalie in that spot. But if the goalie wants to come out to play the puck at a certain point, why shouldn't you be allowed to hit him? He's a regular player. I don't know. I mean,
protect him in the crease, but
yes, in the
outside
creases you can't. Yeah, I would find like. Again, that's my thinking. I'm thinking, how could you get more people going, whoa, in a game? Like that physicality. And then, oh my God, he hit their goalie. Who's going to do this now? Who's going to do that? What's going to happen next? I don't think winning games 7-3 really keeps people I can't wait to see the next game.
Yeah.
Next time they play, or it's a great game. It's a great game. But
a couple things I want to get to before I let you go. One, certainly your brother Dean, you lost your brother back in 2016. Such a difficult thing, the ALS, the impact your brother had on you, and how difficult, it's certainly difficult on his wife and children and your family. And how close were you two? Huh?
Yeah, we were pretty the one thing I wish is that I wish he could have been on that ride with me. And he says that he was, but we played junior together. I wish he could have had an opportunity to play pro with me. That would have been like, that moment. And we did a lot together. And he was always so supportive. And I mean, we talked about these shirts, And
a great guy too, right?
Yeah, he was wearing them all the time. And growing up, he was way better than I was at almost every sport. He just, some people, he didn't have the same drive, I think, or maybe ADD, ADHD that I had. He was just really talented in a lot of things. And I think one of his biggest talents was the way he communicated with people. He was just, you didn't not enter a room without knowing my brother was there. He was such a great, he can make the person who's the most uncomfortable person in a room feel like the most comfortable person in a room. So it's, every family has, we talked about hockey lessons. There's lessons in life all around us. My brother, and I think back, I wish I had said things differently or did things differently, because you never know, right, how things are going to play out. And then your brother gets taken away, and you're like, it's every family they go through I'll call it their shit. How do you come out of it, and what have you learned from it, and how does it make everything stronger? It's funny, the song is "Only the Good Die Young." It's so true. Like he was, it's a big hole. I have actually his picture's right up there. I normally have his jersey on my seat that I normally lie back on like this, but I wanted to show you the nice fake leather chair that I have. But yeah, so and ALS has been coming to the forefront a lot more now, Knux, obviously in hockey circles, just recently Calgary and Toronto dealt with some really big superstar players and general managers. It's an ugly disease that they're inching to help. Inching strong, well, less than that. It's just one of those things that we just can't really fix all that much yet. But
you figure in today's day and age with all the advancements, right?
Yeah, and we're not it's big names too, right? It's like
Boris Salmi.
One of the greatest Toronto Maple Leafs have all the science and doctors around there, and Calgary Flames organization, one of the great people in that organization there, and we can't fix it right now. We can't fix it right now. So,
all right,
it is what it is.
I'm gonna certainly. One thing I want to ask you before I let you go, and
yes, I'll sign a picture for you now. I'll sign a picture for you now.
Sign. No, I want you to. I want a fucking PJ Crew shirt.
Yeah.
Get the picture.
I'm
XL too. XL. I want you to tell me what the first line of your eulogy would be.
Huh. Shit. Do I have to write my own eulogy?
Well, yes, you do. Just the first line. Just the first line. What would it be? Or what would you like it to be?
It's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be, finally, he shut up. it'll be like, do you guys hear that? Exactly. He's gone now. So
finally he shut up.
Well. Finally he shut up. Yeah. There's actually, I did my brother's a eulogy, and it's kind of, you don't know what to say. I kind of, poor church. The priest was great with me, but I was telling stupid stories, and you're doing it in the church setting, and it's like, I'm like, sorry, Father. I'm telling this story. Sorry again, Father.
I'll be with you in a minute, Father.
Yeah. Sorry. So that's a great question. Yeah. Finally, he shut up.
Good.
But finally, it's quiet.
What's my
yours?
My brother Steven has actually going through cancer right now, so he's battling. My older brother back home in Boston, but he's doing pretty good. But man, you just never know. Like I said, we all go through stuff, and just hopefully.
Love to your brother, my man.
Yeah,
Love to
yeah.
your brother.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Raw Knuckles podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.